Hello, everybody. Welcome to Solo in Seattle, the podcast where we dive into the beauty of doing life on your own terms. Whether that's solo adventures, self discovery, relationships, or reinvention. I'm Amanda, your host. And if you've been following my journey, that being solo has never meant being alone. It's about embracing experiences, meeting incredible people, and constantly evolving. And what better way to kick off this podcast by tapping into a little cosmic insight? Today, we're starting with an astrology tarot reading because let's be real. Sometimes the universe has a message we need to hear. Then we'll dive into a conversation with the astrologer to explore what the stars have in store for us this year. Whether you're navigating love, career, or just figuring out what's next on your own personal adventure, welcome to Solo in Seattle. Let's get into it. First guest today, season 2, my girl Ambrosia. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So I really appreciate opening your home to me. We are in the beautiful downtown Seattle corridor. Guys, the view, if you could see it, is amazing. How long have we known each other?
Literally 3 weeks as of tomorrow.
So that is so Amanda fashion and so Gemini fashion.
It really is. This is one of the things we bonded on quickly. We both have pretty prominent Gemini placements.
That's right. So Ambrosia and I actually met 3 weeks ago at a CEO event where we both randomly showed up downtown. Where was it? In Cap Hill.
Yeah, central office.
Yes, at central office. So it was supporting 2 business owners, 2 other CEOs, the Beauty Boost Seattle, which is Brittany, and Alicia, who established her movement. It was a rise and grind event, and her and I sat across from each other. I think, did you come in and I was like, hey, there's a spot here?
Yeah.
Or
I came late, and at first I didn't
say that.
I myself, I came a little late. I was like, hey, I'm here. It was one of those days. And then I get there. I didn't know where everyone was organized necessarily. So I kind of sat in the corner only to realize too late, like I was not going to meet anyone if I did that. So I moved over. I think I was invited over. People were like, come on, which was good. And then, then I eventually ended up in my rightful seat across from you and properly able to speak with you and everyone there.
So let's just talk about that. Like in Gemini fashion. So I showed up maybe 10 or 15 minutes late myself because number one, parking was and then I had to hike down the hill to get to the location. And then I had to figure out how to get in the building. After I journeyed up, and all the girls, they had already kind of picked their placements at the table. And then there was a vacant table. And me being the bratty Gemini that I am, I was like, I'm good. I'm going to sit by myself adjacent to everyone. And the table ended up like filling up as other people came to the networking event or the co-working event rather. And I was just like, I like space to roam and like be comfortable. And so that's how we were able to meet each other. One of the craziest things that I think happened outside of our very luck meeting was Ambrosia offered to read my chart that day.
Yeah, as often happens with me, whether I will it to or not, I get to the point of like, I gotta have your chart. Can I please take a look at it? Which worked perfectly because then, I could see our synastry, like the strong Gemini placements again, the fact that we're very mercurial people. And then, just kind of comment, like riff on things I immediately see. And you're like, yeah, that seems right. That fits what I remember in my life. And it's just like the fun part of astrology.
But let's talk about the wildest piece. When you called out, what does the date August 2023? Because guys, if you listen to my podcast prior to this season, it talks about 2 different relationships. The first relationship ended in August of 2023. August 23 was like the pivotal point of my life where I felt like life ended, for me as I knew it, because I was with somebody for so long, and it just ended. We won't talk about that too much because if you want to know about it, listen to my podcast. So next question, which kind of leads into it because I think you have some synergy towards this August 2023 too. So have you been married? Are you currently married? Divorced, contemplating divorce, single, in a situationship, dating with intention, dating to pass time with no intention.
Oh, Yeah, speaking of August 2023, that's when I left my marriage, my long-term relationship, which for me was 7 years total, which other astrologers will know that's about the length of time it takes for Saturn to square where it was or when a project started. So, it's not unusual. We've heard of the 7-year itch. It exists for reasons. So, yeah, August 2023 was a rough one for a lot of people relationship-wise. I left my marriage, am embarrassingly late on actually doing the divorce paperwork. So that's my New Year's resolution basically, is to get that finalized this
Girl,
time.
goals.
Yeah, it's like step at a time.
Yep.
Physically remove myself from the situation. I'm ready to do it legally shortly.
Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, there's just so much to process. I mean, they say the years that you put in, you cut that in half, are the years that you process out. Regardless of if the situation was over
Mm.
mentally, emotionally, sexually.
Yeah.
And it's up to you and your time, whether you've moved on, whether you're in a place of grazing, whether you're in a
Mhm.
place of finding yourself. None of that matters. And nobody should really put a timeline on readiness. Girl, I stayed married for a long time.
Mhm.
In my younkies. I like to say I gave my ex-husband my 20s and I gave my ex-boyfriend my 30s. But sis, I am 40 plus and it is giving everything I could have ever imagined. You know, that 20s and 30s was supposed to be. 40s has come in and just been a blessing to me. So let's just throw it out there. Are you in a current relationship, a situationship?
Mhm.
What's the cutie conversation on that?
Yeah, currently I'm fortunate enough to be partnered with someone who I do live with at this time. Yeah, it's been an improvement in many ways.
Nice.
Yeah.
That journey of what you will not allow lets you kind of, as you process out the reflection of what was, and
Mm.
then you kind of navigate life in a whole new chapter of exploration of
Yeah.
self as single, as a dyad
Mm.
with your animals. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all such an intertwined, like you say, energy.
Mm.
And it has to work because if not, we know what happens if it doesn't.
Exactly.
So, a spicy question coming up next. Do you have intimacy or is there lack of intimacy in your current situation? Is there sex? Is there lack of sex? And you can go as deep as you want in this, or
Mhm.
you can be as spicy or as non spicy as you want.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I am happily intimate both emotionally and physically with this partner. And yeah, there's a lot I'm happy about.
And so, emotional intelligence, you said emotionally, it's so
Yes.
much further than the discovery of body, if we will. And I
Yeah.
mean, when you can just sit and share space with your partner and they don't fucking irk you,
Literally. Furthermore, so the marriage I left, that was my first relationship ever. There's a number of factors that led to that being the case, but regardless, that was the only relationship I'd been in up to that point. And then I had a couple more. This is the fourth relationship currently that I've ever had, and I'm 28 now. So could be more, could be less, but either way, it's been such a fascinating ride. Learning to recognize things that can feel triggering from the original relationship,
say it.
and like, is this actually a problem this time, or is this just reminding me of something? Especially when it comes to, like, maybe you have a conflict of some kind, but how that conflict goes from there is so much more significant than the conflict existing at all to begin with.
I love that.
And like that took some learning. Like, oh, just because I'm having this conflict with this person doesn't mean it's going to be like last time, because this person is actually more emotionally intelligent and willing to discuss and like work things through with me. And
Isn't that refreshing? Like,
yeah.
why does it always have to be an argument? When you meet somebody that's just kind of like, what? I don't always agree, but you know what? We are going to find a common place where we can meet
Yeah.
and where neither of us come from a place of defensiveness.
Exactly.
You know, because me, I'm not there yet. I'm not grown.
I'm certainly not in several ways too. To make that clear.
I realized I have developed one of the sweetest relationships with one of my high school boyfriends,
Mm.
and we talk every day and it's just amazing. And like him and I are almost the same person because I was telling him on the way here, I was, God, I couldn't imagine waking up to someone or, wow, why do I have to ask you how your day is? I don't care. And I was like, yeah, I'm not healed.
Yeah.
I'm not healed.
Mhm.
And him and I laugh and he's like, yeah, because I was I don't understand the aspect of laying in bed together, like,
Mhm.
unless there's an activity going on. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not healed. I'm not healed. And I'm not ready to be healed. And I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
I own, I own it. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So kind of a sensitive topic next we can broach on, because there's always this expectation that children, and some people subscribe to the article of that's my life's expectation is to have children. I just want to throw it out there. You're more than welcome again to answer it, not answer it, however you feel is comfortable. Do you have children? Do you feel pressure to have children? Do you still have your identity after having or not having children?
I like how you worded that at the end there.
That's right.
Okay.
So back to the nagging question of being a woman.
Right.
So we established no kiddos. Do you feel pressure to have children?
I don't feel pressured. Interestingly enough, I feel more pressured not to have kids at this time. And not really by like, I'll say adults, the ones who are 50 plus, like more settled in the rest of their life and ready to see how the rest of us are doing it. I feel like people my age are really like actively against having kids in many ways, but I think it's because of just the obstacles to having kids, that like
Straight up.
poverty,
Girl, do not recommend.
everything happening in the world right now, and the lack of community most of all, because I think like I do actually want kids. And I always figured like it shouldn't be as hard as people make it out to be. All of
Yeah.
the technical stuff you should have community for. You should hopefully have family for, but at least community of some kind. And then it's not as hard materially. I wanted kids ever since I was 10 and read What to Expect the Toddler Years and was like, so it's not hard. You just treat them like people.
Yeah.
So in my head, I could do it and I would like to, but yeah, just materially not really possible right now. And so to your question about like, how has that changed or altered my
Identity.
identity?
Yeah.
I think it has altered my identity a little bit only because I kind of hoped to have kids by around now because of
Mm.
some astrology last year and being 28 and like having I've studied fertility astrology as well specifically, and I would love to do consultations for that. I just haven't had the chance to yet. And so I'm profoundly aware of the quote unquote timeline on
Yeah.
this. And that it's one thing to wait till you're like what they call geriatric pregnancy age, like
Yeah.
35, and have one kid and be kind of pushing it then because we have the technology. But what if I wanted more?
Yeah.
What if I wanted two or three?
So one thing, number one, you guys make sure Ambrosia Astrology on Instagram, follow her first and foremost. Secondly, I have a workshop. It's called Bringing Baby Home. So it is for post natal mommies learning how to, rear their child, basically, what to expect when expecting, essentially, right? So I would love to incorporate your fertility astrology. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, I would love to do that. I studied under Jen Zart and Nicholas Alsop online through the Kylie Institute. All of that
Awesome.
will not mean much to the average Joe, but I'm just throwing that out there for other astrologers.
Well, and same thing here for me. So I studied under John and Julie Gottman, which is some of the leading people here that talk about marriage workshops. I have
Oh,
my
wow.
master's degree in
I know that name.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So I have all of their teachings under my belt. I've done all of their workshops. I'm able to host those things, the 7 principles of making marriage work, bringing baby home. There's actually a new one that I'm going to do a spin on. It's a singles workshop that I'm really thinking about putting out there. Not that I don't believe in the union of marriage. I did it. Okay, great. You
Been
know,
there.
I've been there, done that. Like, if that's what you want to do, awesome. Again, not healed.
Oh,
And that's okay. That's why we're here. Percent authenticity,
yeah.
because one thing that you will get from me the second time meeting me in person, I'm the same person each time hang out with me. You're like, there's that sarcastic, just like silliness, right?
Which I love.
And I love how I feel you're relaxed in this podcast interview. Have you done podcasting before?
This is actually, I have the privilege of this being my first ever podcast feature and something that I would love to do more of, along with a lot of other business things that I feel like are kicking off for both of us right now, which eclipse season is active, everyone. Yeah, I feel like a lot of things are suddenly coming up that are exactly what I want to be doing, like this. Like, I don't really want to host my own podcast, but I love that you're having me on this one and I would love to do more.
Yeah. And so with that being said, you heard it here first. She would love to do more, guys. So if you are interested in doing some tarot reading, some astrology reading. We have basically, I feel like a resident astrologist here. And so, I mean, how lucky am I? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
This
No,
was quite
Instagram.
serendipitous.
Instagram, Ambrosia Astrology. Make sure you look her up, guys. I mean, we are going to get into this here in a little bit whenever she brings out her stuff and rocks it. Oh my God, guys, it's going to get so good. So, do you feel like you're happy or content in your current life?
My honest answer is honestly not really. And not because there's anything actually wrong with it. I have to like acknowledge that objectively to myself. Everything is fine. Yeah, I honestly not really, but only because a lot of where I'm at in life right now is where I wanted to be 3 years ago. So like and even then, like I'm hearing myself, don't worry. Like I recognize 3 years off is not that bad for where you want to be in life, but I always feel the pressure to get life done quickly. And so there is a big part of me because of leaving my marriage and because of what that was that I would say the same thing that like I gave my niece to this person because even though I knew when I left that the rest of my 20s, like the remaining few years, was going to be spent trying to recover the debt he put me in, trying to heal from that, and that, like, yeah, it wouldn't be until I'm 30 ish that I would probably be able to safely say I'm out of that.
Yeah.
So, kind of regardless, I feel similarly there. And yeah, objectively, there's a lot fine with my life, but subjectively, in all honesty, there is a lot of me that feels the loss of that time. And me only now getting to places that I wanted to be a few years ago, and then thinking constantly, kind of, therefore, like, what of those 3 years have I missed in terms
Yeah.
of where I could be now?
Well, I want to touch on that. I mean, I always go to
Mhm.
being counselor first.
Yeah.
And this is not a counseling session. Obviously, I am not here offering any professional advice at all. Like this is just us girl chat. But it's
Yeah.
it's like because we have so many parallels. I feel like
Mhm.
when we met, I mean everything was holy shit coming together and how are we so similar and we haven't even been together for 4 hours. But I too struggled for so long and still like I haven't done enough.
Mhm.
But everybody's like, "Girl, what don't you do?" Like you are probably
Yeah.
the busiest person on planet Earth. And I tend to forget until I recently made a major life change, my schedule shifted. And it has been such a hard shift navigating my new world that I was kind of forced to slow down, if you will. But being
Right.
forced to slow down, I was able to grow my creativity and
Mhm.
insert plug for Alicia.
Yes.
So I will say this I met Alicia over the summer. I went to I think it was a fashion show in Bellevue. The
Mm.
week before I went to the fashion show, I had met a girl. Her name is Veronica Moss, and she's a local fashion designer and model here in the Seattle area. And her and I clicked at this event. Shout out to my girl Catherine, also who she owns the brand Ageless in Seattle, which
Mhm.
led me to meet Veronica. Veronica and I clicked immediately too, and she was like, "Hey, if you're available, come to this fashion show." I didn't know anybody there. So me and Solo in Seattle Fashion got dressed. I was like, oh, okay. I got my
Mhm.
little two-piece crop set on and I went to this
Yes.
fashion show, sat by myself, and I was able to meet a photographer. She goes by the name on Instagram. I think it's Nada Lux is how she pronounces her name her business tag. But anyways, all that to say, these connections, which led me to stand in multiple situations next to Alicia. And Alicia and I didn't actually have a conversation at that event,
Oh, wow.
but we were following each other on we just because as you can tell you and are friends on socials. I share
Mhm.
anybody's business stuff that I have met and I believe in. I share their stuff on my stories. A friend of mine was like, girl, you are the biggest promoter I know.
I would say that's another great Gemini quality that's undersung. We love cheerleading for anyone we know and have any positive relation to, even if, yeah, we met them like, what?
Girl, so I met Veronica, which led me to Alicia, which led me to you. Because Alicia was branding herself and she started her own movement and she was doing these series of co-working events. And so I believe the week before you and I met at central office, I had went to another one of her events at Soak and Sage. So Soak and Sage is down in Renton, and it's kind of like a community bathhouse experience, which has the cold plunge with the sauna, with the hot tub.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so I met some girls there that came to the central office space, and network there too, and then which landed me and you across from each other. And so it's all about community. And not every person you meet is going to be for you. You don't have to be friends with everybody at these events. You have to protect your peace. You have to protect your energy because
That's so real.
so all that to go back to saying about you being happy or content in your life, you put yourself out there and came to this event, which moved the dial to be able to sit here and be featured on your podcast interview today.
That's true.
How likely do you think that would have happened with you being able to say, what, I'm ready to push Ambrosia and astrology out there?
And what's crazy, this is gonna, some people will be so mad about this, but the reality is the reason I went that day is because of support from my partner specifically, because he had attended a ton of businessy networking events of his own for the past year, and I watched it work out really well for him in terms of the friendships he made and the connections he made. And he was encouraging me to do that too. And the reality is I was just kind of in a depression slump and didn't feel like it. I knew I have a background in marketing. I have a background in business and event planning and production and marketing. Like I do actually know how to do what I need to do, but I just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Between, again, like still kind of recovering from the marriage loss, but also so much else that's happened since then. I was just really not feeling like it. And bless him, he's the kind of person I need in my life and shares the quality that I usually have of recognizing that sometimes it honestly doesn't matter how you feel. You just need to do the thing because it's not going to get better if you don't. And so credit where it's due. He told me like, you should go out, you should find an event. And I was like, I'm trying, there's nothing available. And lo, I looked it up that night and this event I met you at was the next day. I was like, okay, well watch me, I'll do it. I promise, I'll try. So yeah, it worked out. And I also kind of showed up with the attitude of like, I don't know if I'm going to like anyone here. I don't know if anyone here is worth knowing.
No, like dead ass.
But so many wonderful people were there,
Yeah.
including you, and connecting with people there. It was a necessary push and it was a necessary start.
You were at the table whenever I kind of started the live podcast without being recorded, where all of us kind of
went around, had a little symposium.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where the rejuvenation of me returning back to my podcast came from. Because honestly, Ambrosia, girl, if you look at the dates, it is a year to the day that I recorded my last episode. Today
Oh my
is a full year.
Wow. I remembered it was close, but
Yeah.
damn.
So I remember that it was close too. And when I was doing the teaser last night, I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
I'm glad that we had a little bit of scheduling, like, oh, let's reschedule. I'm glad it worked out for today.
Yeah, because I mean, so a little bit about that, guys, was, Ambrosia and I were going to meet, I believe, on Thursday of last week when Mercury was in retrograde, or what'd you say?
Ooh, there was so much was happening at once, but the main thing was like that was eclipse day.
No, the Virgo situation. No, wait.
Yeah, that does happen. Luckily, happens every day. Okay. The ascendant is probably currently in Virgo, which is where yours is natally. So I mentioned that, like, it just feels like a good moment. But we had the eclipse in Virgo, and I think that was the first eclipse we've had in Virgo. It might be the second. I can't remember. It's kind of started half a year ago. But I knew, like, normally, PSA, normally you don't want to do anything on purpose on eclipses. Like, it is risky because it's considered to be a time where fate is doing what it's going to do and you just need to sit tight and let it happen.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever set off a fire alarm in a home while I was smudging, like clearing the space with smoke, was on an eclipse. And I was like, okay, lesson learned, do it beforehand. So I was thinking like, this might not work out, it maybe shouldn't, but sometimes, eclipses tend to represent big beginnings and endings. Okay. And for it to be in your first house with your ascendant, I did think like this, regardless of whether it's to the day, like this season is going to be a big time for you specifically and other Virgo risings and Pisces placements. Nice.
And we are going to start wrapping up your side of the interview, and then we are going to jump into my drama of a life.
Yeah, giving some teasers here.
Some straight up teasers because, guys, it has been a time. Sweet Jesus. All right. So what is your communication style? Do you think you're open and honest?
I like to think so. I think so. I have been accused of not being an amazing communicator before, and it shocks me because I feel I put a lot of effort into it, and it's one of the only skills I think I actively can rely on. I have a pretty strong English background and like writing and other mercurial things. But I have sometimes been accused of that, and I think those are just situations where we need to clarify. Like, maybe misunderstood how much they would understand, and I just need to redo it.
So how comfortable are you asking someone to clarify?
I'm pretty comfortable, but depending how if it's a casual thing that
Yeah.
doesn't matter right then and there. If it's something that is like triggering something in me, I will
Mm,
probably sit on it for a while
straight up.
because I want to make sure I'm not acting out. I don't use this word lightly because I know the history behind it, but I want to make sure I'm not acting hysterically in the moment because sometimes that is just how it feels. And if I had a dime for every time in the past year that it has been true that, like, thank God I didn't overreact, it really wasn't that deep. So,
And the thing too, right, is even as direct as I am, I'm very
mhm,
calculated in my response.
mhm,
Always. Very meticulous.
yeah,
Because as I have gotten older, not everything deserves a response.
yeah.
I mean, honestly though, I think maybe that's why you like me, it's the sassiness
We both have
of
Mars and Gemini in addition to Mercury. So that's how our aggression comes out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to hold back, not ruin
No,
the whole night for everyone with one
that part.
thing.
And let me tell you, sis, like I was a coined aggressive woman. Like before, like when I had so many unresolved issues,
Right.
child, oh my God, like I was nothing to play with. And now I'm suable. So I'm like, mm-mm.
The stakes rise.
I'm like, girl, I got assets now. You can have whatever you can have whatever it is you're trying to serve. Like, no, thank you. But I just, I just approach things so differently now. And thankfully, like even in my own journey personally and professionally, getting my counseling degree, like I had to unpack
Oof.
everything. And I mean, life's a lot of times. And now I don't even give energy to half the stuff that pops off. So with your person, do you assume that they can read your mind?
No, especially now that we've been together for a little over a year and have had time to figure out where and when we can read each other's minds. There's certain things we're definitely super, super similar on. And so those are the really fun moments of bonding. Like maybe we'll both say the same thing at the same time. Those moments are adorable. But there have definitely been times we have uh I'll use the word in conjunct Mercury placements, which means that they don't see each other, like they don't aspect each other. And so communication with him is different and sometimes more difficult than it has been for me with other people who have more similar Mercury placements to me, just because, like, quite literally, the way we're used to communicating is different and like they don't relate to each other. So I have to do a little more clarifying sometimes or ask for a little more clarity of like, what does that mean to you? Sometimes he has just asked me, like, why did you show me this movie? Or why did you show me this? And it sounds a little aggressive at first. And then I realized, like, no, it's just a question.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Do you confront or ignore,
Mm.
or do you overlook issues?
Kind of like I was alluding to earlier, like, I try to always address things, but if it felt triggering to me, I might need to take a beat and, yeah, make sure I'm not just reacting and that I'm actually like asking a genuine question rather than maybe instinctively throwing out an accusation or such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, pivoting from that, we're going to
Mm.
move into our energy circle because here in just a second, we are going to tap
Yes.
into her beautiful world of astrology and tarot. But I just want to ask you, just because I'm getting to know you, I really think that we are building something very strong that I would even like to soon coin a friendship.
Dare
Not
we say?
dare we say, hopefully our Geminis don't clash too much because, shit, that could really get deep. But I think that our playfulness, right? Our
Hmm.
playfulness really kind of is in the forefront of whatever organically is happening here.
Yeah.
Because I will say too, you were my first interviewee. Like I have actually never interviewed anyone before.
Well, thank you so much for the honor of having me
Yes,
on as your first.
yes, and this is the first time that I am putting myself out there
Mhm.
with I won't say a complete stranger,
Yeah.
kinda, but not really. But I just want to take this time to obviously appreciate you and honor you. This is your episode.
Mm.
This is the ability to give you a chance to honor these questions that I'm asking as open as you want to. But I do want to know, what have you done that was the strongest thing in your life that has guided you to where you are currently?
This one is kind of hard to put a finger on because everything that happens that feels like the biggest thing ever at the moment feels like the biggest thing ever at the moment. And like trying to pick out which one really was in retrospect, I would say the kind of obvious one would be leaving my spouse. There's definitely been a couple other moments since then that are strong contenders, but The leaving the spouse thing was the biggest one. For one thing, because I literally had to physically flee the country. We had moved to Belize, and
That's
there's
right.
a number of reasons why that made sense on paper, but knowing him and his family and like the details of what was going on, it eventually not being too long became apparent that this wasn't going to work out, and it wasn't, more importantly, it wasn't something I could fix. And this was a pretty big, I guess, adulting, growing up lesson,
Yeah.
that like no matter how hard you try and how competent you make yourself, some things you just can't fix because they're not in your power to fix. They're other people's mess and you can't clean it up, and you just have to choose whether you want to sit in it or not. So physically having to flee the country, I had to get a like 3 hour taxi to the airport. I had to have my brother fly down to meet me because I have two cats who I needed to take with me. And airlines, if you didn't know this, won't let you have two pets with you at once.
Interesting.
You need one person per pet. So bless my family for their immense support. My brother came down and helped me up with the cats. I got to stay with them for a couple months in Sedona at the time. And I really felt like I was in rehab. I haven't ever been to rehab, so forgive me if that's not an accurate statement, but it felt like rehab. I was in the mountains in the summer, August 2023, and able to take a beat. And I cried every single night for like an hour, but during the day, I tried to enjoy the sun, tried to just get back to
Girl,
work, you
I
know.
was so sick of crying.
Literally.
I cried every fucking
I
day.
still cry a lot from various.
What seems like a year straight. Why was I crying? It was the disrespect. It was the disrespect for me. My damn feelings, for once, the feelings that I thought were dead,
Yeah.
were hurt, girl. They're still hurt. They are still hurt. I am still hurt.
Me too. That's such a real point. Like, with all the conversations people will have around healing, there's just not enough around the fact that sometimes the disrespect alone.
Bro, I am a whole ass educated counselor and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to move past it. And trust me, I have listened to counselors. They're not helping.
Yes, I've read books. I've the Mercury placements too.
Listen,
Like, we
if
try to
I-
think our way out of it. And
If I color another goddamn color book about self-help or paintbrush, girl, I went to a damn cabin in the woods with 8 strangers and knitted. I was like, I need to remove myself from my current environment and go do something I never thought I would do. Girl, how the hell I ended up in Suncadia, which is like 2 hours away, mind you. I rode with a complete stranger and I showed up at this house, beautiful house, by the way, with 8, maybe 10 women. I don't remember. Wonderful women. You're all on my IG. I love you girls. From the work Seattle, plug them because they connected us. But it was a house full of women who loved to craft. And it was a 3-day weekend retreat where you learned how to do literally everything you could ever imagine. Make a candle, do flower painting or imprinting, a tea towel with flower petals, a knit blanket. And all of these women were like, girl, how did you get here? And I was like, I don't know. I got an email.
literally.
It was an email from the owner, and I'm pretty sure it was just an email blast. Anybody was invited, looking for people to hop on this retreat weekend. I did get sponsored to go, which was amazing. And I showed up so vulnerable because I've never in my life crafted.
Wow.
Never in my life have I done anything artsy fartsy fun like that.
Yeah.
And just building the relationships with those women was just so beautiful, which I am ever so grateful for. But back to your point of you being able to identify what brought you forward today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to hijack that, girl, but I had a moment.
No, I love that.
Sis.
I'll try to say this quickly, but that's so funny you say that because that reminds me, there were multiple moments that I knew I should leave my spouse, but what really and truly did it for real. And this is before I moved to Belize, so forgive me, world, for like still taking too long to make the move. But the moment I knew this is a problem for real was I had gone on a knitting retreat.
If you don't get out of my life right now,
It was an
wait, I'm in your
astrology.
space. I have to exit.
It was Astrology and knitting retreat.
Girl, not us on a knitting retreat.
And
why are these parallels scary?
the retreat itself, hosted by Knit Paws and the Astrology on Instagram. So thank you to both of them. But this retreat, the retreat itself was fine. I came back from the retreat weekend, and Monday, the following Monday, found out that my spouse had like quit his job without telling me. And I understand why, but like he didn't have another one lined up. He thought he maybe would. He was working through an employment agency, but he didn't. And the issue was that he did not tell me. And he already knew. Like, we had been over the fact that, like, we split all of our bills, we split rent. I told him, like, I can't keep covering. He had had a string of unemployment months that he'd been employed for a handful now. And he knew. I told him, like, I can't keep covering your bills. I am a contractor. I have to save up to pay my own taxes.
When you are tired.
So I get back from my retreat. I'm feeling pretty refreshed, pretty good, and like pretty willing to work on our relationship, only for him to still be sleeping once I'm working remotely.
Girl, don't you just want to? No, I can't say that, but I will get banned. There are certain things that I feel like I've learned from viewing social media that I cannot say out loud. I'm not trying to get, but y'all know where I was going with that. Sleeping there so peacefully, wasn't it? And you just,
I'm like glaring as the hours pass. It's a couple hours in, and I'm like, he should be doing something. I finally wake him up, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't work there anymore.
Yeah, girl, I didn't experience unemployment in my last relationship that broke my heart, but this person would sit there and game, and I swear to goodness, that is a trigger for me, sis.
So like,
that is a trigger for me.
I don't mind that people game. What I do mind is watching my unemployed in his underwear husband sitting there with beer cans around.
I don't mind gaming either, but
playing not even a cool game.
Why are you sitting up there getting mad at me because you keep dying because you lack the talent?
Is he trying to make Age of Empires work this time?
I don't know what that fool was doing, but I'm like, how come every time I walk up in here, you die? It's like, I was like, it can't be me.
It's like, it's a fate sign.
I just cannot with, like, I swear to goodness, if a guy's like, oh yeah, I game, you're dead to me. Nope, off with your head.
Gosh,
but nothing to gamers. Like, you guys are hella cool. Like, you spend hours like perfecting your craft, and you that's your thing, that's your safe place, whatever the case is. But you're not about to lay up with me in my house. I didn't cook dinner. You didn't let it get cold. You didn't die 50 million times. Blamed it on me 50 million times because you lack the talent to not die. Because trust me, I win at everything that I do, sir.
At least be good.
Girl, okay, I'm being petty. That Gemini. All right, let's wrap this up, sis, because we have a lot to get covered here in a short amount of time. So, guys, this was the interview with my girl Ambrosia. Thank you so much for being my first guest. I loved it.
So did I.
I loved it. I love the energy. I love the playfulness of it. Well, hopefully, you guys loved it too. I just want to remind you guys, this podcast is and will always be about choosing yourself, putting yourself first, and understanding how to be seen after not being seen in your life. So if anybody wants to know, let me know if you want to connect with me on my podcast and tease out these same questions. Let's get deep, let's get raw, and let's get in there. This is your podcast host, Amanda, solo in Seattle. Follow me on Instagram, solo_in Seattle, and Ambrosia Astrology on Instagram, and I look forward to your feedback. Hey guys, we are going to move into some astrology. So I am going to hand it over to Ambrosia, and we are going to basically figure out where my life is at.
I've got your chart pulled up here. I've got my tarot cards out. We can do both. And I'll say, first of all, I'm going to be very conscientious about how much I say, only because this is public, and a lot of lay people don't know how much you can do with someone's entire natal chart. Whether someone believes in witchcraft and whatnot is up to them, but with all that in mind, I will be as conscientious as I can be. Before you came over today, I heavily cleansed this space. I partake myself. So I love Sphere and Sundry. You can find their offerings if you're interested in talismanic materia, which is items or substances that are infused with astrological magic for the purpose of fill in the blank. So I have some of their Deneb Getty incense and other products that are used for clearing the evil eye out of your space.
Girl, you saying that, honestly, I took a deep breath.
Yeah.
Like, because when you said I don't want to go into too much detail to
Hmm.
protect something, girl, I automatically thought of that devil.
Yep. That's why I bring it up. Like, I
Yeah.
want to address one, that this is something that people should be conscientious
Mhm.
of. You can go around giving out your SMR to people. That's not a crime, and most people can't or won't do anything with that information. But it's good to be aware, if you believe in metaphysical things, this is useful information to have. I just choose to be ethical,
Yeah.
personally.
And I appreciate that. So, just to plug her again, she is on Instagram, Ambrosia Astrology. I think that her and I, after we do this reading today, we'll start expanding some opportunities. If you guys are interested in tagging along, doing a podcast episode for readings, we're going to get her pay structure ironed out so that way we can figure out how to bring her on board and get her compensated for her wonderful work that she does. But, today her and I are just doing a little kickback and freestyling it and seeing what's going to happen because I am an open book. Well, not that open. We're going to peek it open a little bit because there is some current sensitive stuff going on. And just like I always tell my podcast invitees, like if there's something that's sensitive, we can just gently glaze over that. And so we will pass the baton back to Miss Ambrosia and let her get to it.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, I'll allude to things, and luckily I can manually show you stuff too, so the public doesn't have to know every detail, but I'll give a little glimpse of what we can figure out here. First of all, I did mention we both share some strong Gemini placements, which is true, and Mercurial in general. Mercury, the planet, rules the signs Gemini and Virgo, and I did mention you're a Virgo rising, so that's already out there, but that's not crazy. And yeah, the eclipse on the 13th was, I think, the first eclipse in Virgo that we've had since the nodes, the mathematical points where eclipses occur, switched into these signs. They were in Aries and Libra for the past year and a half, roughly. Last October, we had our final, our final Libra eclipse, I think, and then probably the first Pisces one. I have a different almanac that shows me. I'm looking at the one I currently have, which is from Honeycomb. And yeah, I don't remember October right now. That's not important. Point is, we just had the Virgo eclipse. And the next one will be in Aries, the last one in Aries, thank God, because I'm in Aries rising and I cannot wait for these eclipses to be over. They tend to represent big beginnings and endings. Eclipse season is not a time you want to try to exert your will. The universe will exert its will for you. So you don't plan things, you just let things happen.
And that is literally me right now. When we met 3 weeks ago, which is crazy, guys. And I swear to gosh, it was a match made in heaven. We had so many intersecting things. And which has led to the birth of what we're doing now, which we hope to turn into a series. So, if you guys are interested in that, make sure that you are following her on Instagram, Ambrosia Astrology, and me at solo_ in Seattle. And we'll just keep on going.
Season is in full swing. We have 2 retrogrades happening. Mercury is currently retrograde. Venus is currently retrograde. I've got one post on my profile right now about Mercury retrograde, which is super rudimentary. And just about what retrograde is when the planet appears to be moving backwards from our perspective on Earth. It is a geocentric model, astrology, because it's about how we relate in the universe. And we are aware they're not literally moving backwards, but when the planets are moving backwards in the sky, there's the feeling, the sensation that things are moving backwards on Earth as well in the topics that those planets rule. And there's the adage, an ancient adage, this is thousands of years old: as above, so below, as below, so above. And so the idea is not that planetary movements cause things to happen, although for a handful of 100 years or so, that was an argument that was being made to protect astrology from being persecuted under humanity's rise.
Oh Lord, we ain't going there.
I know, it's just a dabble. For anyone who's do the planets cause this? We don't say that anymore.
CYAing right now. She's like, y'all are not about to come for me about this.
Yeah, I just want people to know, if anyone's the planets can't affect us, we never said they did, except for that short time when we were trying to fly under the radar. If we could argue that this was an observation of natural phenomena, like watching the weather, then maybe the church wouldn't persecute us. So that's the only reason that has ever even been out there. These days, we're less worried about that. So we're willing to say it doesn't cause anything. We're just reading symbols in the sky. And it really is similar to what reading the weather. Like, this vibe will happen somewhere at this time, affecting people in different ways. That's what it comes from. With your own chart,
Jesus Christ.
is there anything in particular you want to know?
So we agree to freestyle, obviously, because I am not going to say I'm not big into astrology. I have no idea. I definitely like it. I feel like I like to say not impressionable, but like I'm like, oh, that aligns. That makes sense. So recently I put myself out there and I applied to become a professional presenter for an organization. And it was supposed to be presenting on their topics. But after having the dynamic interview, she wanted me to create my own coursework.
Okay.
And so, is that the right move?
Ooh, okay. Great question. I mean, yeah, okay.
I am leading off of fear and whatever little faith I might have.
Gotcha. Okay. A couple things come to mind just in terms of the astrology, and then I can do this with tarot too, because that's a good question for tarot.
Yeah.
Astrologically, in terms of timing and such, Jupiter is currently towards the end of Gemini. It takes about a year to go through a sign. It entered Gemini very end of May last year. Jupiter tends to represent big things, bigness, capacity, religious or spiritual things, and belief, as well as justice and the distribution of justice and resources. That's all very vague, but I'm throwing that out there. It's called the greater benefic because there's two planets that represent everything good in life, which is Jupiter and Venus, and Jupiter is the big one. So Venus is like quality, Jupiter is quantity. Jupiter is abundance, having a lot of things. And it's been in Gemini for the past year, which is, again, we both have strong Gemini placements. You would hope that'd be a good thing. A lot of astrologers have certainly made the case for it being a good thing, at least for mutable placements like Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius. The reality, though, is that Jupiter does not like being in Gemini or Virgo for that matter because it's opposite its home signs, which are Sagittarius and Pisces. And when a planet's in its opposite, like in the sign opposite of its home, it's called being in exile or in detriment. But exile is a good term to use because it is literally as far from home as it possibly could be. And in the real world, astrology is a language designed to be able to describe everything, specifically under kind of Hellenistic, Mediterranean concepts of what everything is, but nevertheless, everything. And so being exiled or being an immigrant or being a refugee, these things are things you can see with astrology and are represented there. So that's the feeling of Jupiter in Gemini or Virgo, is that Jupiter is not in its homeland. And it is it can do what it needs to do, but the place it's in is not a place that's really welcoming of those qualities. So the last year has felt like everything everywhere all at once in a lot of ways. Jupiter is a kind of knowledge and wisdom and information. And Gemini and Virgo both rule detailed information. They rule facts. They rule small scale things. And so Jupiter being in Gemini for the past year has very much been the feeling of this is too much. That said, Jupiter is in a part of your chart that is very beneficial for career. And being at the end of those degrees right now, being towards the end of Gemini, you have some pretty strong placements there. I would say it is not shocking that there's big things in your life happening in career right now. And because Jupiter is a good planet, even if he's kind of struggling where he is right now, I would say that good things in career are to be expected for you right now.
Okay.
And not just career in the job sense, but the legacy you're building and the things that you want to mother or nurture into life and into the world, especially because of the aspect it's making to your natal Jupiter, which is in one of its home signs. It's in a position right now of being able to see how far you've come after some work you put in, let's say about 6 years ago. This is really
That's when I graduated from graduate school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so what's crazy, not to interject, but like I've never really felt that I've had the opportunity or space to use my education. And so I feel like birthing or rebirthing this podcast is a nod to all of the years of service that I put in for the past 19 years in my career, serving people. And then pivoting August of 2024, taking this major promotion of being a presenter for my organization,
Mm.
and standing in front of new employees and onboarding them. I've always had a call to public speak.
Mhm.
But I've never felt like I had the platform or the entry to do so. So fast forward to recently, I started doing these co-working events, these networking events, sitting at tables with CEOs. And I forget I'm a CEO.
Yeah, right? I don't gosh, trying to figure out, like, what do I put my label as on a name tag? A professional event I'm going to.
Yeah. But I built a business. I built businesses, actually, multiple
Mhm.
businesses. And so, okay, snaps. Yeah. And so having the freedom and the flexibility to be a creative,
Mm.
that Gemini, that without boundaries is what I need. And I'm so immensely grateful to my current boss and my former boss as well that nurtured me, right? But this particular boss here is giving me the platform to pivot the shit out of me. And it's wild. And my colleague is the one who introduced me indirectly to applying to be the presenter. It was happenstance. She was showing me how to get our department to pay for something.
Oh, yeah.
And then I scrolled down further and was like, call for presenters for 2025. And I
Oh,
was like, well, hell.
look at that.
And what's crazy is you need a specific licensure to present for the certain organization. But this
Mm.
woman has believed in me so much. She's like, with all of your credentials,
Yeah.
because I got acronyms.
A whole alphabet behind your name.
Golly. What you said, but what I took from it was we're so hard on ourselves to be where
Yeah.
we're at the number in our age.
I hear that. Mm.
Because I am 41. No, I am 41.
Yes.
But I feel like I am exactly where I should be. So you're new to me, 3 weeks in of this energy. But those who actually have followed me through the last, what, 3 decades, I am ever changing, ever evolving. And like every time you see me, you talk to me, I stay hungry.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
so that leads back to my question, right? Am I doing the right thing, basically chasing this journey of public speaking? And I see you brought out the tarot cards, so
I did. I was shuffling.
yes,
I'm
yes.
still thinking, okay, your question before was about if this is like a fruitful move
Yes,
for you in terms of doing
right.
the public speaking event.
Exactly.
Mm.
Am I in the right direction taking this leap of basically not leaving my current career because like I've been in it for 19 years and I'm happy here. Like there's no reason that I feel like I need to like jump ship or anything like that. But I am being given a platform.
Yeah.
And I feel like this platform is way bigger than I could ever imagine. And I shared with you today, as soon as I released the Instagram post about us doing a one on one today, and then I did a call for guests, I'm booked out for the next 10 weeks.
That's progress. So
Right.
fast. That's
Like,
eclipse season energy right there.
and it's just so, not that I don't believe in myself, but it's just so wild to be like, what?
It's almost sick sometimes
Yeah.
when the thing that you've been holding out on for a while because you didn't feel like you were ready or you didn't feel like the world was ready.
Girl, let me be real. I didn't feel like I was good enough.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest and real. Even as confident and forward facing as I am, even as many videos as I post, drinking a protein shake or whatever the case is, those are all part of my journey of self reflection.
Yeah.
But it's damn. Okay, maybe I am onto something and people are supporting it. And another
Mhm.
thing, when we met a couple weeks ago, you talked about haters.
Yeah.
So I want to know what the tarot got to
Ooh,
say about that.
yeah, we can do both of these.
Yeah.
First I'll do the business question.
Right.
No,
Where are you
the lucky line.
looky loos?
And then I will be following up on that because that is always good information to have. Which, like, again, I smudged this place. I
Yeah.
am Indigenous American and I was taught how to smudge with sage. But today I specifically used incenses that I have from Sphere and Sundry. Again, I used some for clearing any evil eye energy. And it's not just for clearing what's already bad, but for specifically fortifying the space.
Mhm.
It's for a fixed star that's associated with sailors and captains who are traveling across the ocean with a lot of goods on their ship. So the idea is that you have protected your goods from theft, from piracy, essentially, from anyone invading, and you've fortified yourself with not just protection in general, but the protection of people around you. That like authority figures will be on your side. People who like you want to be on your side should be supporting you.
Girl, let me tell you about protection, okay? So I'm not going to get into the meat potatoes of it, but Seattle has my back.
And that's so nice. I feel similarly. Like that's why I keep being here.
Yeah.
This place loves me.
Seattle has my back. And when I say that no matter where I go or who I'm with, if there's an energy or a presence that is not for me, I will get a phone call that will protect me at all costs so that I don't move in a space where there's bad energy. It's crazy.
That's such a good quality to have.
So to talk about protection,
yeah.
like I kid you not. I was at home tucked away in bed and someone called me and was like, "Hey, just want to check in on you. Are you out tonight?" And I was like, "No, I'm, at home." And they're like, "Good, because there's an energy out here that I don't think that, is something that you should have around you." So I'm just giving you a heads up.
Good to have those friends. Good connect.
I was like, oh my God. But no, seriously, like I am so well protected out here. I am so well protected. Like people look out for me.
That's such a wonderful thing to have.
People look out for me.
I can say that, like, there's a lot I would complain about my own natal chart, but one thing I can be grateful for is that my haters will never prosper.
Girl, say less. I hope, look, where's that mic at? I hope every day you look at my shit and it makes you sick.
Oh my gosh. Alexa like gives you hell by American Rejects. Take it back to middle school.
And like you're saying that, and then I'm over here being hella petty. There's a song by a Houston rapper. His name is Zero, and it's called "I Hate You, Bitch."
That's what's going on my fuck fake friends playlist.
Anyways, okay. All right, we done smudged in here. Don't bring your little toxic ass over here with this nonsense. All right, Tarots it is.
Gosh, I feel the ancestors laughing with us right now. Like, we're laughing at you.
Yeah, no, like Amanda, this is not the way this episode's supposed to go.
Whatever works, whatever gets us there.
Well, you know what? Those who know me already know what you're going to get. So this is not scripted. This is literally just us hanging out, having girl time, and watching Ambrosia do her thing.
Just some raw.
I appreciate so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Amanda. I'll have you cut the deck just so you've got some physical content.
And just FYI, roses are my absolute favorite.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, this is the Rosebud Tarot deck.
Yes.
From, let me see, can I remember their names right now? I know Diana, the astrologer, did the booklet, and that's how I got interested in this. If I was better with my wherewithal right now, I could remember more details.
So question, do you have multiple tarot cards?
That's a good question, and my answer is no. I'm kind of an anomaly. Most people have several decks, if not, a crap ton. And I just have that's never been my style. Yeah. I have consistently usually also had a copy of the Rider-Waite deck, which is like the traditional one everyone's used to seeing.
Yeah.
But I keep running into people, I'll talk about tarot, and they'll tell me that they're not into it yet, but they would like to be, but that they've heard you have to be gifted your first deck. This is not true because why would it be? But since so many people are worried about it, I just give them my deck. Like when I've had an extra Rider-Waite around, I'm like, whatever. If this is the only obstacle to you leading into, getting into a practice that will help you if you let it. I mean, to be fair, when I first got my tarot deck, I absolutely asked every immature middle school ass question I possibly could. I am no saint. I was like, I'm going to ask what everyone I've ever wondered about has thought about me, what they intended towards me. And I definitely learned like what you do and don't want to know. When you run into questions that you didn't necessarily want to know ahead of time, you simply have to choose to mature real fast right now and be okay with what you have walked yourself into. This is part of divination in general. Like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. And if you've made that mistake, just grow fast. So the card we pulled for you now, to come back to it, we've got the reverse Page of Swords in a traditional deck. In the Rosebud Tarot deck, this one's called the Curiosity of Air. I'm also going to do a tip I learned from someone at NORWAC, at the Northwest Astrological Conference a couple years ago, and pull the bottom of the cut card as well, just for some added context. When you have a reverse page of swords, this usually tends to represent a delay or potentially unpleasant news, like a delay in information or a delay in the development of an intellectual pursuit that you had begun. It's not necessarily a terrible thing to get a card in reverse. It just means that there's something about the original meaning of that card that's being turned on its head, quite literally. So this would suggest the thing is happening, but maybe there's a delay or there's something that's going on right now that's keeping you from pursuing that as energetically and fully and quickly as you would want to. The context card, and this is why I like to pull a context card, because sometimes you're like, well, why? Or what does that mean? The context card is the reverse Queen of Swords. So that's related to this. And a reverse Queen of Swords, it can be a person when you get an archetypal card like these, or it can be a phenomenon or like something you're personally experiencing. But what this card represents in and of itself, reversed as it is like someone who is not, it's probably a femme person, maybe, maybe not, but probably. And it could be you, it could be someone else, who is, when you have swords cards, they're air associated in this deck and they have to do with intellect and the mind. So a lot of swords cards are traditionally not considered nice, but that's because they represent essentially mental health issues that you're getting yourself into. And the point of them is not just it's all in your head, but that specifically the issues at play are psychological. They're not like, it's not like you don't have enough money for this. They're about things going on that are like spoken or thought that are at issue. Both of these are swords cards, so it suggests it is like an intellectual or a verbal issue. The reverse queen here tells us either another person or yourself is experiencing not the ideal amount of being in touch with your intellect and your ideas. This can represent someone with ill intention who's just all up in their head. Maybe they're competitive, maybe they're just not interested in teamwork right now, but for whatever reason, there's something about this person or situation that is not clear-headed, basically. But again, that's just a factor on a delay. It's not a stop, it's not an end to anything. There's just, this could literally be something similar to what we discussed earlier, that like you are enthusiastic in theory about starting these projects, but you're worried, which is so fair. It's so real and sensible.
So valid. Because I tend to downplay my education.
Which would be a swords thing, like your education, your wisdom, your knowledge.
Yeah, I always downplay my education. I always downplay what actually I am capable of, because I feel like I have been stifled for so long in my actual career that I've had for 19 years. To fit into this box. But then again, there's also this person that kind of is overarching in my personal life that I brought in, that I've since removed in the last 6 months, that is that kind of doom of gloom. And I don't have direct contact with that person anymore. But
another thing with tarot or astrology or is that sometimes it isn't just one thing, it is multiple. Yeah. Like sometimes a transit represents not just one phenomenon, but like several at once that all fit the bill. And we could argue that with the tarot cards too. It can be a combination of like, you have someone out there who they probably aren't even consciously a hater. They're just someone whose head is not in a space where they're capable of being open and supportive the way that you would hope. But it can also represent your own mental blocks, like your own like subconscious awareness of all that you're capable of and willing and able to do, but combined with, anxiety, uncertainty, the things that really make sense for what you're doing anyway, but especially in the times we live in and everything going on.
Yeah. And so what about, to kind of pivot a little bit, what about my love life?
Yes, always a popular question. You know, always one I'm happy to answer.
And so, not that I'm going to get into another relationship, because God forbid. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so curious around it. Yeah.
Gosh, my favorite, or one of my favorite lines, I'm definitely paraphrasing, I don't remember it that well, but the fucking movie Hitch.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts was when he says something to the effect of like, no one doesn't want to be swept off their feet.
Yeah.
It's like, all of us might say like, I don't want a relationship right now, but that doesn't mean that if the perfect situation just shows up unasked.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have been able to discern what I don't want to be able to open for what I do want. It's a want versus a need at this point. Yes. And so I feel like I am open to receiving attention, a little doting, maybe. Yeah. I'd be okay with some doting.
A little adoration. Yeah. A touch of devotion.
Or even like a touch in the small of my back. I've known him for quite some time, and we've been friends for quite some time. And I need to stop dating my friends. Maybe that's the red flag. Maybe that's the red flag.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you say that because I'm thinking of the astrology too.
Yeah.
And right now I'm like going through my almanac. I'm trying to find what month Jupiter goes into Cancer this year because that is in your chart going to be very relevant for friendship specifically. And for where are you? For friendship, but also for patronage and your hopes and dreams and things that require a network or support in
Yeah.
order to happen. It's a very good thing. That happens June 9th. All right. Early June's big. We have 5th of June, Venus goes into Taurus, which is her home sign. As fair as that is, especially knowing your chart. In general, Venus does like to be there. That is her home sign. So it's good for Venus things when Venus is in her home sign. And the fact that a few days later, Jupiter goes into Cancer too, that's going to be great. They'll both be aspecting each other positively, meaning they can support each other. You have both the benefics, Venus and Jupiter doing good stuff, to sum it up, in good places.
Yeah.
Jupiter doesn't belong, like his home isn't Cancer, but he's got a special quality called exaltation in Cancer, which is special privileges, basically. And for you, that will be related to friends and networks, potentially patrons, and it can include love and lovers.
Ugh.
So it's funny you mentioned this. I mean,
Instant regret.
yeah, you don't have to worry about it
Instant
in that way
regret.
until early June.
Okay.
But even then, like even
Birthday
without
month.
that, right? If we weren't considering that, yeah, the eclipse is happening in your 1st and 7th house, your Virgo and Pisces axis. That's the axis of partnerships.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the axis of love, which is the one that Jupiter is going to be active in later. And
Okay.
that's worth mentioning because, again, if astrology is a language to describe everything, it's worth remembering that historically, love and marriage have not necessarily been related. So that's in the chart. But for what it's worth, yeah, there's a lot that's going to be active in partnership for you. And that can include business partnerships, transactional or agreement based ones. But also, yeah, Jupiter in the friendship and love and fun and creativity axis will be good. So let's pull a card for your love life too and see what they have to say about this.
So just like pull any of these?
Yeah,
or-
just cut somewhere and I'll do after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can set that down. It'll be good.
I'm like,
Here's the first card. I'm already happy with that one. And then our context card. Okay. The first card, the main one we drew, was the 9 of Pentacles in a traditional deck. This is 9 of Earth in this one. This literally is a card of getting your material hopes and dreams fulfilled and sitting pretty, feeling good about it. Like in our image here, we have this woman chilling on a bench. She's got a parrot next to her because I think there's a parrot in the original card for this. She's in a gorgeous garden. It's abundant. It's verdant. She's just chilling. And it's a really happy card to get in terms of feeling lush. So that's a good side to get. The other card we have for context is the 3 of Wands, which tends to represent, it can be travel, but it doesn't have to literally be travel. It can be like a metaphor. Okay. It's an interesting time.
so yeah, so like there was kind of like some chatter around me going to Europe, and the tour actually ends the day after my birthday.
Wow.
And so we were just having some chatter about if I should hop on the end of the tour.
I'm like looking up other astrology stuff while you're talking. I'm like, let me look at this.
And yeah, it's just been so crazy how
Okay, yeah.
full circle just different things are happening for me with different people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, my instinct is to be like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I will say this quick aside. This is something that is personally hard for me as both a normal human being plus an astrologer. You can have amazing transits, amazing astrological times in your life where you are happy and thrilled and everything is going perfectly. And that will be great. That does not mean that in 5-10 years, you won't no longer be with those people in your life.
Yeah.
Or no longer interested in those topics that you were so enthusiastic about before. And I only feel the need to bring that up, not to be a Debbie Downer, but because like
Down me, girl. Delulu.
like,
I'm Delulu right
just
now.
to like add the like I feel the pressure as a professional diviner is to say something with certainty. And what I can say with certainty is that there are good things ahead. But I can't say with certainty how long it's gonna be good.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I am a Gemini.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so fun. And then, like, as I leave your apartment, I'm like, oh my God, I hate it all.
Right?
By the time I get to my car and I drive, I'm like,
The Venus retrograde that is currently happened the same way it's happening now back in 2017. same season, same spring. 2017, we had this Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces, which is happening now.
Yeah.
And at that time in my life, there was a lot going great, and I was thrilled, and amazing things happened. And that Venus retrograde was very important in a positive way for me. Where I'm sitting today, I wish it had never happened.
Girl,
And it's related to
if I
marriage.
could, if I could take back 2017, I believe that's when I graduated from my graduate
Mhm.
program. Graduate school was such a jealous beast. I really think
Mm.
it was the detriment to the beginning of the end because I didn't realize he was a sacrificial lamb.
Wow, yeah. And it's like I haven't even mentally accepted this fact. I'm just passing it on as I intellectually know it. But like, yeah, sometimes things really are just for a season
Yeah.
or a reason in a season, but not forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I personally struggle with the like, is it even worth enjoying anyway? But like at the end of the day, it's like good weather. Good astrology is like good weather. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what you're thinking. If you have a sunny day, you might want to take a walk.
Girl.
And if it's raining, just accept being inside.
So, how come it's so beautiful outside today, by the way? Because
I
we have
know.
had the most atrocious week. And it's only what,
Truly.
Tuesday?
It was like
What day
Tuesday.
is it? I'm like,
Oh yeah, right. It's Wednesday. It's Tuesday.
I'm like, I feel like the weather has been so disgusting.
It's been one of those Seattle
But today,
springs.
yes, but today has been just so calm and so pretty.
Yeah, we've really been blessed with this. I won't say yesterday. Well, okay. What yesterday was rainy, but it was one of those good Seattle rainy days.
Okay.
At least here.
Yeah.
Even though normally I'm like, ugh, again.
Yeah.
Yesterday was like, okay. And the day before, we had some patches of sun. That's when I enjoyed walking by the waterfront. It was like, okay, you moved here for a reason. Absorb it, enjoy it. And yeah.
Yeah. And so I am thinking about kind of like my astrology chart. And you said that there were some things that you were going to kind of tap on and tap in and out. Got it.
Again, and not giving too much information away, but like things that are relevant for you. Saturn is about to go into Aries. That's going to be my Saturn return. But for you, that'll be your Saturn opposition. You have Saturn in exaltation, in a sign that it has a lot of privilege in. And that means it's in Libra, which is a sign that has to do with relationship. So it's funny, really great speakers and writers on relationship and love include bell hooks who have Saturn in Libra, like people who are aware of what a good relationship looks like as a verb, not just a noun. But Saturn is a planet of separation and of maturity and coldness and distance. So there's something to be said for you absorbing and enjoying your break from these things as you have come to a place where you fully understand what these are for you and what they should be, and therefore what you're not worried about messing with right now. But yeah, when Saturn goes into Aries in just like a couple months, it'll probably bring up a lot of that stuff again for you just because it'll be opposite that. And so it'll be like dead on looking at it. They'll be kind of your natal Saturn and the Saturn in the sky are going to be having a little conversation. Could be relevant related to shared things for you, like the difference between what you personally own and respect and value versus what you have to share with other people or like deal with collectively. Just mentioning that because Saturn takes 2.5 signs to go through a sign, so that'll be like a minute. That's going to be a little while that'll be a
Okay.
focus. And it probably will be in some way related to maybe love, but also like you mentioned you have a child.
Yep.
So like it could be related to him because Saturn rules that stuff for you and work a little
He
bit.
rules everything.
Yeah.
He is my boss.
So it'll come up. What else? I guess the haters thing, like,
Oh yeah, I forgot about those already.
yeah, the
See
reason
how like irrelevant they are.
I think about you saying like how much you can't stand Tauruses. It's funny to me, you would know a lot of Tauruses because they're another earth sign and you're a Virgo rising, and earth signs just like to vibe with other earth signs.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't annoy you though. Like any Taurus placements are going to be opposite your moon. You keep it real, and you're someone who's very capable of getting through hard times. Taurus placements don't like hard times. Tauruses, they're what a resource Venus looks like. It's like good food, good wine, good
Yeah.
company, like sumptuous circumstance.
Yeah.
I will say, because of where your Venus is, that's the thing I asked about haters. But that plus where your sun is like
Yeah.
they exist and they're around, but
Yeah.
like I'm not even that worried about it, to be honest. Like the placements you have, it's like they exist, but
I just feel like I come from a place that draws that energy.
yeah. Yeah, like they are kind of out of the picture for the most part.
And Not saying that like my personality doesn't irk the shit out of some people, because I'm not for everybody. And I've known that for a very long time. But the capacity that I hold to care
Hmm.
is like
Yeah.
in negative place. And I'm talking about like not negative feeling, but like the amount of fucks I give.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like it's a really good place to get to mentally for anyone that not everyone has haters, to be fair, but for those of us who can't expect them, you can't help that they'll exist. So you just need to handle how you're going to deal with them, which is why, like, not everyone should smudge, but you can do things like I mopped my home with Florida water. There's non closed practices people can do to protect and sanctify their home
Yeah.
against the evil eye, against hater energy, because my family certainly brought me up to be conscientious of that
Yeah.
possibility. And I've definitely felt or observed it in my own way. So we can't help that bad things will happen. But I feel like if you really arm yourself against them, that's the best anyone can do.
Or keep your distance
And
and
keep your
keep your
distance.
circle tight.
Mm,
And when you feel like something in your circle does not align, remove that shit.
so true.
Baby, my cutoff game is strong.
Yeah, yeah.
My cutoff game
Scorpio
is
placement.
strong. I promise you, I will. What is that? Mortal Kombat? I will finish you. But all that being said, I just want to give a highlight to Ambrosia for giving me the delightfulness of her gift in the divine world and being able to showcase her talent in astrology and being able to tiptoe around some heavy things and preserving my integrity for this podcast today. Playing around with just the playfulness of our energy with the tarot reading and being able to give her flowers while she is
Mhm.
here and lifting her up and supporting her business. So if anybody is interested in connecting with me, Amanda, solo in Seattle, and Ambrosia with Ambrosia Astrology, either together or separate, I'm not gatekeeping whatsoever. Please feel free to reach out to her on Instagram, Ambrosia Astrology, and tap in. And let's go ahead and give her her flowers while she's here, help her build her business, and help her get her name out there and start. What year are we in? 2025. Yeah, let's just give it a boost and be able to just be a girl's girl and support each other and just be appreciative of the time and the space that we're sharing today. So I really appreciate you being my second series interviewee on my podcast, Solo in Seattle. So always remember, guys, this podcast is about choosing self. And one thing that I am big about and have figured out in my 40 years on this earth is I have to choose me. I like to use the analogy of when you're on the airplane and the stewardess is doing her thing and she comes to the part about oxygen. And
Mhm.
she reminds you guys that if you want to survive, put your mask on first and then help the person next to you because
Mhm.
that is your better chance of survival in life. And that is what I live by, right? Because there's no better thing that you can do than helping yourself and putting yourself first. Because if you are not in a space that's good, you're not going to be good for anything around you. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate you for extending your time, going over a little bit for me because I am chatty Patty.
Oh, it's my own
Um,
fault.
we're just having such a good time. I loved it today. I appreciate you so much. Is there anything that you want to close out with?
Just that I'm available. And we've got a crazy year astrologically approaching. And I'm not just saying on an individual level, like, I'm not the only astrologer who's been thinking about this year for many of them. So, if anyone is feeling it and needs some direction or would like some support, please feel free to reach out. I do have some fixed rates, like a natal chart reading I would like to do for about $140 because I spend as much time prepping and studying your chart and what's going on in the sky as I do on the actual consultation, which I like to record and send to you afterwards so that you can refer to it as needed. But at the end of the day, we live in the times we live in, and I'm negotiable. I'm okay to do bartering. I'm okay to do trades. I'm okay to just negotiate a discount as needed. Like, it is more important to me to do the work and to do the help. So please don't be afraid to reach out. We can always work something out.
And I love that, right? However, we're going to pay our girl Ambrosia.
I do appreciate that too.
You
I
know,
also have bills to pay.
we are not starving artists on this podcast. We are established adults. And, I do command a audience that supports. And so I want to give this platform the ability to grow again, there are sponsorships available if indeed you are in a place where you are really, coveted to feel like, hey, I really want to do this. I'm not in a place financially right now to be
Mhm.
able to compensate Ambrosia for her talent, or her wisdom or her spirit. But, 140 is something that is negotiable, and it is something that I think is a wonderful experience that you should tap into. So reach out to my girl, Ambrosia Astrology, on Instagram, and let's connect. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.